Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? This program will begin shortly. Good morning to everyone who are joining us today. Welcome to all the school students, teachers, parents from all over Malaysia, not to forget all UMS students and all UMS staff present in this session today. It is my pleasure to be a moderator for another session of STEM Speaker Series. I am Marla Iveta Lazarus, a third-year student of Faculty of Psychology and Education, taking the course Teaching English as a Second Language, TESOL. For those who are joining us for the first time, this STEM Speaker Series is a co-joint effort with the Faculty of Engineering and University Malaysia Sabah, aimed to deliver unique and interesting STEM topics. It aims to increase the interest of school students, teachers, and community alike to venture in the fields of STEM. If you have any questions regarding today's topic, please feel free to drop your question on the chat box at the right side of this YouTube live session. Please be informed that for today's session, e-certificate will be given to everyone, but you must fill in the form through a QR code which will be shared at the end of this program. So make sure you stay with us until the end of this program. In this wonderful morning, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Emma Suali from the Faculty of Engineering. Dr. Emma is currently serving as the head of program for oil and gas engineering in the Faculty of Engineering, University Malaysia Sabah. She had won 3 silver medals and 1 bronze medal in UMS Invention and Innovation Competition, PERECA, in 2012, 2014, 2015, and 2016. In 2020, she has received the Faculty Award in the High Impact Publication category. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Emma Suali with her topic, Oil and Gas Engineering. Dr. Emma, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Mara, for the introduction. Very good morning, everyone. How are you? So, from my understanding, the audience today is from secondary and primary school. So, I'll try my best to make my presentation as simple as possible. Okay, so the topic that I'm going to share today is about oil and gas engineering. Okay. So first of all, before I talk about what is oil and gas engineering, it's very important for you to understand what is engineering first. Okay, so maybe for university students, they have some idea about what is engineering, but for primary or secondary school, maybe this is a new term for you. Okay, so what is engineering? Okay, this engineering. Okay, let me play this video. Okay, so can you identify the problem from the video? Okay, there is pollution. Okay, so most of you probably know this about black smoke. Maybe you know this as a black smoke, but actually in terms of scientifically, this is actually carbon dioxide and addition of many other types of gases. Okay, so can you identify the problem? Yes, the problem is pollution. So how to solve this problem? Okay, how to solve this problem? To think of solution on how to solve this kind of problem is actually engineering task. Okay. So if you look at this one, okay, how to solve the problem? There are probably many types of solution that you can offer to solve the pollution problem. So two of the solution is you can use less pollutant material or you can install filter. But the question arises, how do you install filter to filter the pollutant from release into the atmosphere, right? Or what kind of material is suitable to replace the current material that produce pollutant? So this kind of thinking, all of this, which is used to solve the problem, is engineering a task. Okay, that's one of example of engineering task. So I hope you have some idea now what is engineering. Okay. So to summarize it, engineering is the process of creating and building. Okay, it's a process of creating and building a structure. So for example, here, if you look at this picture at this at your left side, okay, at your left side, this one is car structure. So how to develop a car? How to structure a car? Okay. Another example is a product. So if you look at this image, this one at this middle, okay, this is actually a petrol. So where this petrol come from? Kan? Who is responsible to produce this petrol? Or if you look at this right figure here, this one is example of system. Who developed the system in a computer? Okay, so all of this is actually exists because of engineering. Okay, so in another word, engineering is the process of creating and building a structure, product, system, and solving a problem. Okay, I hope everybody have some idea what is engineering now. So how engineering is done? Using the knowledge of mathematics and science. Okay. So we take a look at a few applications of engineering here. Okay. So maybe this one, you can look around you. Try to look maybe in front of you right now is a computer, maybe a handphone, or maybe a tablet. Okay. So have you ever wondered how actually this computer, handphone, and tab was made? Okay, who developed the system? Okay, have you ever wondered that one? So if you wonder that one, you are actually wondering that actually engineering a job. Okay, engineering task. Okay, another application. Look at the tall building around you. Okay. So image that shown here is actually a Sabah State Administrative Center, and the other one is Petronas Tower. Okay, so have you ever wondered yourself like who designed the structure for the building? Who designed what type of material that's suitable uh, to develop the concrete and so on? And have you ever wondered that one? Okay. Another example is gas or petrol station. Okay, like this one. I think you're familiar with this one. Okay. So how does gas or petrol making a car possible to drive? Okay. So this picture here, example of a petrol or petroleum product. Okay. So actually, there are many other examples that you can see around you about engineering application. Okay, not only this one, but there are many others. If you can relate it with your surrounding, I believe that it is easier for you to understand what is engineering. Okay. So a person who does engineering job, we call it as engineers. So engineers solve problem with their invention. However, engineering can be divided into many branches, okay, such as oil and gas engineering, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, and many other engineering. Okay, and each of these branches, they serve their own purpose. Okay, for example, chemical and oil and gas engineering. These two branches is actually almost similar, but oil and gas are more focused on the petroleum side, while chemical, they can be enter in many field in industry. Okay, so mechanical engineering, this one is related to develop a car. Okay, for example, okay, ataupun many other machine. A civil is like a building. Okay, building bangunan and so on. So electrical, this one is related to the electronic and so on. So computer is related to the software, how to develop the component within the computer and so on. So many other branches, but the one maybe you can find it on your own later after this talk. Okay, maybe after you have some idea about what is engineering, maybe after this you interested to know more, then you can Google it. Okay, so now I believe that you already have some idea about what is oil and gas engineering. Okay, I mean what is engineering. So now I want to tell you about what is oil and gas engineering. Okay, but before that, don't confuse oil and gas with a cooking oil. Okay, the one that we talk about today is not about cooking oil, but we talk about oil and gas that product from a petroleum. Okay, so example, easy example of gas from petroleum, the one that used in your home, LP, we call it as LPG gas, yang kamu guna untuk apa tuh, menghasilkan api itu. Okay, ada one example of petroleum product. Another one is oil or petrol. Example is petrol, the one that you use to fill into your car engine. Okay, so we are talking about this type of oil and gas. Okay, we are not talking about palm oil. We are not talking about cooking oil, the one that you use to cook at home. Okay, we are not going to talk about that one. Okay, so how did oil and gas get created? Okay, this one is actually a very important fundamental. Okay, so when we talk about how does oil and gas get created, first you need to know about the nature and how oil and natural gas was formed. Okay, so as you can see from this slide here, this one is actually oil and natural gas formation. I think you are familiar with this one a long time ago. Okay, under the ocean there are many organism or tiny sea plants and animal die and were buried on the ocean floor. Over time, they were covered by layer of silt and sand. So I think you are familiar with this word, right? Okay, so over millions of years, the remains were buried deeper and deeper. The enormous heat and pressure turned them into oil and gas. Okay, the meaning to say that bangkai-bangkai yang mati daripada animal dan plant di dasar laut tu, okay, finally dia akan terkumpul after a million years. Okay, theoretically, okay, this is theoretically. Dan disebabkan oleh suhu dan tekanan, dia telah how to call this, they converted into oil and gas. Okay, so as of today, we can drill down to layer of sand, silt, and rock to reach the rock formation that contain oil and gas deposit. So this is actually how oil and gas was formed. Okay, if you have any question about this, you can ask me later. Okay, so what are the products of petroleum or crude oil? So remember this oil here, okay? there is activity to extract this oil from this, okay? And then once you extract that oil, it can be converted into many products to what we call as fractionation distillation. Okay, distillation is actually separation of component in the crude in crude oil based on the temperature and also the volatility of the components. So maksudnya di sini kan crude oil tuh, okay? Cakep nih. Okay, crude oil when they extract the oil from oil rig, okay, we call it as a crude oil. And then this crude oil, you cannot directly use crude oil. You need to further refine it so that it become usable a product. Okay, so this figure here is example of how distillation was conducted. Okay, distillation, to distill. Okay, macam to extract out certain of the component begitu. Okay, so this crude oil here. Okay, first of all, the crude oil heat it into certain temperature. Okay, and then less than 350 degrees Celsius. Okay, how hot is 350 degrees Celsius? You can compare it with a boiled water. Boiled water is 100 degrees Celsius. So imagine this one is 350 degrees Celsius. It must more hotter compared to the boiled water. Okay. So this one will produce bitumen. We call this bitumen. Usually this one used to make the road. Kan? Bila kamu jalan-jalan, you nampak di road tu yang macam tar tu, actually that one come from a crude oil. Produk dia adalah bitumen. Okay? And then after that one, between 300 to 350 degrees Celsius, it produce lubricating oil. Okay, lubricating oil. I think you're familiar with this. Most machine they use lubricating oil in order for the machine to run smoothly. Okay? Macam pelincir begitu ni lubricating oil ni. Okay, and then fuel oil. Usually for fuel oil, this one is for a ship. Okay, and then the temperature for this one is around 250 to 300 degrees Celsius. Okay, and then between 220 to 250 degrees Celsius is diesel. Usually diesel used for truck. Okay, and then paraffin, this one is between 180 to 220 degrees Celsius. Usually this one for airplane and so on. And naphtha is between 60 to 180 degrees Celsius. And naphtha ini produk dia ada banyak lagi, okay? Sometimes this naphtha can be converted into cosmetic product and other type of product lah. Okay, and then the one that we familiar is a petrol or gasoline. Kan usually gasoline for car, and so on. Okay, and then for less than 25 degrees Celsius, this one we call as petroleum gas. It will be converted into petroleum gas, and this gas is actually have many use. Okay, I hope you already have some idea about this. Okay, so what does oil and gas engineer do? Okay, so an oil and gas engineer is involved in the process extracting. Okay, or simple word of extract is to take out, okay, oil and natural gas from reservoir. Okay, reservoir is the one that under the ocean. Okay, this is actually the job of oil and gas engineer. So in order to extract all of this oil and natural gas from reservoir, there are many steps need to be taken, and there are many subdivision of the work. Okay, and it's not necessarily for oil and gas engineer to go to offshore or offshore. Okay, dia tidak semestinya pergi ke laut. Okay, sometimes they can remotely control the situation, the system from onshore. Onshore tu yang di darat begitulah. Okay. So I want to give you some idea about the step in extracting oil and gas. Okay. These are the idea. In oil and gas industry, I hope this is not too complicated for you to understand. Okay, I'll try my best to make this as simple as possible. Okay, it can be divided into three categories, which is upstream, midstream, and downstream. Okay, so this upstream are related to the oil and gas exploration and production. What does it mean, exploration? Exploration basically is activity to find out where the oil and gas exist in the ocean. Okay, so during this exploration, okay, this involve many field, not only oil and gas engineer, but also involved with geologists. Geologis yang mengkaji batu-batuan tanah-tanah semua tu, okay? Yang batu-batuan. So it also involve for this exploration activity. Usually there are a team that appointed to do the exploration activity, and they have their own method to find out whether oil dan gas tu ada di bawah laut tu ataupun tidak, okay? Memang ada dia punya method. It can be done using software, okay? Dan boleh juga dilakukan menggunakan other type of macam device, ultrasonic device kan? Pernah dengar? Have you ever heard about ultrasound device to find out whether something exists within the ocean, under the ocean or not? Okay. Okay. During exploration activity, usually this type of a device also used. Okay. And then the second step, we call it as midstream. Okay, midstream is for transportation. And this transportation is to deliver the oil and gas to refinery facility. So what is refinery facility? Refinery facility is a facility to refine the crude oil. Okay, to refine the crude oil to convert it into usable a product like the one that I showed earlier about distillation process. Okay, so basically for this as transportation activity, it's involve a pipeline. Okay, pipeline digunakan untuk transport oil yang kita drill from the first activity, from upstream activity. Okay, like here. Okay, after we find out that there are oil deep under the ocean, okay, we'll start the activity to extract the oil. Okay, and then after that, after we extract the oil, we need to we need to transport it into a refinery facility. That's why we have what we call as a midstream. Okay, this one. Okay, basically to transport the oil and gas that we get from the first activity. Okay, and usually can be transported to pipeline or even can use truck. Okay, and then after this step, the next step is we call it as a product preparation and usage. And usually this one, we call this as a downstream activity. Okay, so within this downstream activity, okay, refinery is the most okay, refinery is the one that we do during this third activity. Okay, so refinery is to refine the oil and gas to usable products such as petrol, diesel, and so on. So after this step, barulah you can use the crude oil yang you drill daripada laut tu. Okay, macam itu. Okay, and then all of this activity involve oil and gas engineer. Okay, so maksudnya di sini oil and gas engineer, they need to work within this field lah. Okay, I hope now you have some idea about what is oil and gas, but it's okay. I'm not going to talk much about this. Okay, you can ask me any question after this, after I end this presentation. Okay, because I cannot see the chat. box. Okay. So why do you need to be an oil and gas engineer? Okay, of course, there are pro and con to be oil and gas engineer. Same with other branches of engineering. Okay, but benefit as oil and gas engineer, one of the most apparent benefit is actually um, those that working within the oil and gas industry, they have opportunity to travel around the world. Why they need to travel around the world? Because this oil and gas industry is all over the world, and sometimes the company they have their branch in another world. Sorry, not another world, in another countries. Okay, in another countries. That's why they need to send the employee, the staff to travel to manage the other branches or something like that. Okay. So if you have a family member, maybe your uncle, maybe your parents, maybe your sibling are working in oil and gas industry, you can ask them about this. Okay, you can ask them about this one. Okay, and another one is about the salary. Okay, it's about salary. Oil and gas energy mining field is one of the highest paid in the world. Okay, kamu tanyalah those that working in oil and gas tuh, they will tell you about this one lah. So it is undeniable the oil and gas engineering field is one of the highest paid lah a job in the world. Okay, so this one is actually I took this from salaryexplorer.com. This was salary distribution in Malaysia in 2021. So these are the ranks of the salary for oil and gas engineer. So almost everyone earn 13,700 per month or less. Okay, 75% in about 9,000. 50% in about 5,000, more than 5,000. And only 25% in less than 3,500. Okay. So it's undeniable lah yang oil and gas industry ini memang ada tinggi dia punya salary lah berbanding dengan engineering yang lain. Okay. Tapi tidak semua yang kerja di oil and gas ni dia bergantung kepada level of their like a junior, a senior, and so on lah. Okay. So another reason why you need to be why it is beneficial to be oil and gas engineer is to be one of the problem solver. But actually this one also can be applied to other branches of engineering. Okay. And oil and gas is daily necessity. This industry is important for development and many others. So as long as car exists, as long as there is transportation using petrol or diesel, selagi itulah we will still use, we still need this industry, oil and gas industry. Okay. So if you are interested, okay, this slide here is for secondary and primary school. Okay. So if you are interested to study engineering or to be oil and gas engineer, so what subject course you should take? Okay, subject and course that you should take, that one is include science and technology related courses. Okay, so you kena masuk bila di tingkatan 4 tu you kena masuk science begitu. Okay, you kena masuk science. Okay. And then you need to take a mathematics or additional mathematics. You need to study chemistry or biology. And the most important is actually you need to study physics. Okay. most of engineering branches, they require physics. This one is very important lah. Okay. Maybe student from secondary school, they have idea what is this physics, chemistry, biology, and so on. But from primary school, okay, maybe take your time. Okay, you can learn this slowly. Okay. So where to study oil and gas engineering? We in UMS, we also offer this field. Okay. So we have here diploma in process engineering, oil and gas operation. And usually this one for SPM leaders. Okay. And then we also have bachelor degree in oil and gas engineering. Usually this one for STPM, diploma matriculation, science foundation, or we call it as science asasi, leader. Okay. So the benefit of diploma in process engineering oil and gas operation leader. Okay, when you graduate from this course, you can directly enter bachelor degree in oil and gas engineering as second year. Okay, that's mean you GMAT a 1 year lah. Usually this one need to finish within 4 years. But if you are from the diploma from our faculty, you can finish this within 3 years. So this is the benefit lah to join the diploma in process engineering for SPM legal. So after that, if you are interested to pursue a further study, you can study master in oil and gas engineering. Okay. And this one are conducted by course. By course ni, it focus on a study like bachelor degree, kurang penyelidikan. Okay. So I think that's all from me. Okay, so this one is this one is my email. So you can, if you have any question about oil and gas, a program in UMS, you can email me anytime. It's my pleasure to reply all the email. Okay. Okay, that's all my presentation. Thank you very much. Okay, I think I will pass this session to Miss Malah. Okay, I'll pass to you this session.
Thank you very much to Dr. Emma for the engaging and informational presentation about oil and gas engineering. So from Doctor's presentation earlier, we know that oil and gas engineers are very important for us because without them, we are not able to cook at home and also travel by car or travel by plane because we need this oil from the engineers to work on them. So from the okay, so we invite for some questions to be answered by our guest speaker today that was sent to us in the YouTube live session. So there is a question here. The first question is, can we bury every dead animals in the ocean for a few years to produce our very own oil?
Can you repeat the question? Can we
Okay.
bury on animal for a few years to produce on oil? Okay. In theoretical, the oil and gas from dead animal or plant can only be produced after million of years. That's the theoretical. Okay, we say it theoretical because there are no really scientifically that supporting, or there are none actually identify how long the plant and the dead animal are under the ocean can. Okay, that's why we call it theoretically, but I'm not sure. I think it will not produce any oil and gas if it's require million years to produce. Okay, that's my answer. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, for the answer to Alia's question. So we are still waiting for another question from the audience. Feel free to give your question to Dr. Emma today. Okay, so another question from Alia. What happens if we mix the oil with seawater?
If you mix the oil with seawater, okay, it's okay. I think I need to go back to my slide to explain about this one. Okay, is my slide still showing?
Yes.
Okay, I think I need to go back to my slide. Okay, wait, I need to explain this one why it is actually not mixed. Okay, so if you look at this image at this right side, okay, this one is the, we call this as a rig for drilling, okay, and then this one we call as sand outside rock, okay. So basically yang C itu adalah di atas sand dan silt rock nih sebelum tuh, dan oil and gas deposit is under this sand and silt rock. Maksudnya actually it will not mix with the seawater. That's why we need to drill, okay, to get the oil and gas. Okay, am I answering Alia question? Dia tidak mix tuh, okay?
Okay, Alia.
Originally it's not mixed, but if somehow during the transportation of the oil and gas from this macam dari reservoir nih to the platform, kalau dia spill begitu, memang dia akan mix with the water lah if it spill, okay? Okay.
Okay, Doctor. So, any more questions from the audience? Alia says thank you for answering the question, Doctor. So we give a few minutes for the audience to give more questions. So don't be shy to ask, since this is a golden opportunity for you to ask questions. Okay, so a question from the live question. Is there any possibility for current disposal facility will become oil and gas site in the future?
Okay, the question is there any possibility for the current disposal? Can you repeat the last sentence?
The current disposal facility, maybe for the rubbish, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting question. Okay. This one are related to, have you ever heard the word of landfills? Landfills are one of the method people use to manage a waste. Okay, they buried the waste under the, macam dia tanam di bawah tanah tu lah. Okay, and after a few years actually because of waste, I assume he talking about a waste macam dari plastic and so on, right? Okay. After a few years, it's actually because this waste came from many type of material. If it's come from plastic, it's very difficult to degrade. We call it very difficult to degrade because, as you may be aware, that it's take many years or maybe almost not degrade plastic to make it degrade. So to answer your question whether this will turn into oil and gas, maybe possible, but it will take a million years. As I mentioned, it will take a million years. Okay, we still follow the theoretical basis theory about oil and gas production. It takes many years. Okay, and especially if it's a waste from plastic. Kamu sendiri tahu kan, susah mau compose plastik tuh. Okay. If it's difficult to compress, difficult to turn into oil and gas lah. Okay, that's my view. Okay.
Okay, thank you. for the answer. And the third question from Mac Olson. Hi, is there any alternative for gasoline that is proven to actually work to save the environment?
Is there any white gasoline to save the environment? Okay, it's like this. Gasoline is one of petroleum product, and some car that use this gasoline. Okay, and if you want to say that whether it is to protect the environment, right? That's the question, right? To protect the environment. Usually, fossil fuel or petroleum fuel, this one of the sources of carbon dioxide. Why I said one of the sources of carbon dioxide, and as you may aware that pollution composed of carbon dioxide. So there are many others. Let me elaborate this a little bit, okay? There are many issues related to the pollution, related to the carbon dioxide that released because of the burning of the fossil fuel. When I talk about fossil fuel, I talk about a product that made from petroleum, which include a gasoline. Okay, so one of way to solve the environmental problem to reduce the pollution is actually the introduction of what they call as a biofuel. Biofuel derived from a plant like palm oil, okay? But the product have similar function like petroleum oil. So for now, most of the industry in oil and gas, they already integrate the use of biofuel or biodiesel. Okay, so does gasoline actually save environment? I'm not going to view it that way because without gasoline, we can't function properly. But when we use gasoline, of course, it will still produce carbon dioxide, but in acceptable quantity. Okay, that's my answer. Okay.
Okay, Doctor, I hope that answer your question, Mac Olson. And we still have some time left, so we're still waiting for questions from the audience. Uh, if any questions, if you maybe about and how to enter UMS or like that. Okay, so Doctor, can I ask a question? So what is the cons of working as an oil and gas engineer? Because we have heard like working as a oil and gas engineer is such a dangerous job, right?
Okay. Thank you for the question. Okay. First of all, need to understand that all engineering branches they have their own risks. Okay, and they have their own pros and cons. So, for example, like oil and gas industry, of course, there is a risk to work in oil and gas industry because sometimes uh, the possibility that something might happen. For example, like explosion or something like that. Okay, explosion or maybe earthquake. But actually, earthquake it really affect the structure, the platform structure offshore. Okay. So other risk is this other risk lah in terms of safety. Okay, that why when people study engineering, all of these are included in courses lah, and then how to avoid it and so on. This is also a task of engineering lah. So if you want to avoid engineering job just because there is a risk, I just remember that engineering is very important. We need actually engineering in our daily life for the development to solve a solution. Okay, because without engineering, who will solve the problem? Can okay, okay. So yes, of course there are pro and con, but the why there are guideline and the why there are study how to minimize the risk are included within the program or courses. Okay, that's all I can say lah about the pro accounts.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Yeah, it is true that safety always comes first in every work because every work has its own risk. So, yeah, engineering is very challenging. Okay. So, are there any one last question before we end this session for today? We have a few minutes left. Maybe the audience is a little bit shy to ask questions. So, from the vote by Pusat Sains UMS, adakah Anda berminat untuk menjadi jurutera dalam bidang oil and gas pada masa hadapan? There are 55% of them voted as yes, and 45% of them voted as no. So maybe there are school students inside this, and you need to study well and get into a science stream class and further your study in UMS maybe or other local university or even private university to become an oil and gas engineer to fulfill our and to solve the problem like Dr. M said.
Okay, thank you for the data, Miss Mala. Okay, it's okay. It can be developed. Okay, the what to say, the interest to do something, it can be developed. Maybe we can start from now, kan? Maybe this is a first time to for you to hear about what is oil and gas engineering. Maybe after this, you will you can tell others. Okay, you can develop your interest from now, lah. Okay.
So one last question from the floor, from Justin Leong. How often can engineer balik kampung if they are out in the sea?
Okay, this one is depends on the schedule, but from my information that I got from my friends, usually there are 2 weeks offshore and 2 weeks onshore. But actually, it really depends on the schedule lah that provided to them. Okay, but that usually what happen lah, 2 weeks onshore, 2 weeks offshore. Maksudnya 2 minggu di laut tuh, 2 minggu lagi di darat begitu.
Okay, so I guess that is all for our session. So we hope you all enjoyed this amazing and interesting presentation by our wonderful speaker today, Dr. Emma. The link for registration and e-certificate will be shared for school students and also UMS students. So please fill in your details and answer a few feedback questions. And all students will receive e-certificates. For UMS student, you will receive SDP points as well. So thank you again for Dr. Emma for answering those questions and for the amazing presentation.
Yeah, I just would like to say thank you very much for Ms. Mara for this opportunity and for you science a team for inviting me to give talk today. I hope that my sharing today is beneficial for primary and secondary school. Okay, and I hope that from this sharing today, they learn something about engineering, and I hope I can see them in the future in UMS. Okay, thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, I hope to see them as well since next year will be my final year. Maybe I can see more future oil and gas engineering students. So thank you everyone for your active participation. We look forward to see you in the next STEM speaker series scheduled on the 5th of August, which is this Thursday. entitled Surya, the freshwater stingray from Kinabatangan. Such an interesting topic. So it is a pleasure to have all of you with us. With this, I conclude the webinar. Thank you from me and also to all the committee of UScience UMS. So don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content from UScience UMS. So please stay for a while for the link to be shared and see you again.